Assalamu alaikum. In this lecture, I will talk about provisional restoration, or we called temporary restoration. Provisional restoration can be defined as a crown restoration that is used in fixed prosthodontic during the interim between tooth preparation and final placement of the definitive crown restoration. Why we use provisional restoration? To protect the tooth from pain stimuli as a result of thermal, chemical, and osmotic change in the mouth. To prevent sensitivity and further irritation to the pulp. To prevent movement of the prepared, adjacent, and opposing teeth. That's to say, to prevent supra-eruption and drifting. To protect the gingival tissue from irritation and food impaction. To provide aesthetic, phonetic, and function. An optimum provisional restoration should have the following requirements. Number 1. A provisional restoration must seal and isolate the prepared tooth surface from the oral environment to prevent sensitivity and further irritation to the pulp. Number 2. A provisional restoration must have good marginal fit, proper contour, and a smooth surface to maintain the health of the gingival tissue and facilitate plaque control by the patient. Number 3. A provisional restoration should maintain proper contact with the adjacent and opposing teeth to prevent supra-eruption and horizontal movement drifting. A provisional restoration should have enough strength and retention to withstand the forces to which it is subjected without fracture or coming off the tooth. In addition, it should remain intact during its removal so that it can be reused again if necessary. A provisional restoration should provide aesthetic, phonetic, and function. Now we talk about types of provisional restoration. We have preformed temporary crowns, customized temporary crowns, and laboratory made temporary restoration. Preformed temporary crowns consist of a shell of plastic or metal that would be cemented directly on the prepared tooth following adjustment or after its lining with a resin material. The preformed temporary crown may be made from metal or plastic or celluloid. The metal temporary crowns are mainly indicated for use in the posterior teeth. They came into two types: non-anatomical or flat temporary crown and anatomical or morphological temporary crown. As we said that the temporary crowns are made from metal or plastic material, the plastic material used for the temporary crown are acrylic resin or from polycarbonate plastic combined with microglass fiber. The clinical procedure for the metal temporary crown is the same for the polycarbonate temporary crown. First, we select the proper size and shape of the temporary crown. Then we trim the cervical margin of the temporary crown using a scissor to conform to the gingival margin of the preparation. After that, we seat the prepared crown on the prepared tooth and ask the patient to bite on it. Check the margin and the occlusion in centric and eccentric. Smooth the margin with stone bare and finally cement the temporary crown with temporary cement. I can repeat the procedure quickly. First, we select the proper size and shape of the temporary crown. Then, we trim the excess from the cervical margin, smooth it with stone bare, and finally cement it with zinc oxide cement material. Now, if there is no size which approximately fits the prepared tooth, that's what can we do? We can reline the temporary crown with a resin material to improve its fitness after the selection of the most suitable size and color shade of the temporary crown by using the relining material. The third type of temporary crown is celluloid crown. The celluloid crowns are mainly used for anterior teeth and also can be used for the posterior teeth. They came in different sizes. The clinical procedure for the celluloid crown: coat the prepared tooth with Vaseline to facilitate removal of the temporary crown. Select the proper size and shape of the crown. Make 2 holes in the corner of the temporary crown to provide an escape way for the excess material. Cut the gingival margin of the crown. Fill the celluloid crown with provisional material of the same shade of the tooth and set it over the prepared tooth until. If the acrylic resin is used as a provisional material, the celluloid crown should be removed at its semi-plastic stage so that the polymerization reaction will occur outside the mouth to prevent pulpal irritation. Take the crown out and remove the excess material, then place it again on the prepared tooth and check the occlusion in centric and eccentric. The customized temporary crown and bridge require the construction of a mold of the patient's teeth before the preparation, and it is indicated in many cases in the coverage of multiple individual crown or a single tooth with a special design, or we need a temporary crown for fixed partial denture. The method for the customized temporary crown are called impression method. They are indirect method or direct method. In the direct impression method, we first take a preoperative over impression. Then after preparation, we take another impression and power it with fast setting plaster or stone. Coat the prepared tooth or teeth with a separating medium. Then mix the tooth-colored acrylic resin according to the manufacturer's instruction and put it in the over impression at the area of the prepared tooth. Set the cast into the over impression in an upright position with maintain constant pressure. Wait for the complete polymerization of the acrylic resin, then separate the cast from the over impression. Trim any excess material from the temporary crown and check the occlusion in centric and eccentric occlusion. Finally, you can polish it. The clinical procedures for the direct impression method is the same for the indirect one, but it is easier. It is done directly inside the patient mouth, and we need a preoperative impression material, but we don't need a steady cast. The indirect method have many advantages over the direct method. There is no direct contact of the free monomer, and there is no heat of polymerization. Besides, it saves the clinical chair time. A new material have been introduced in the market in 2022. It's a visible light activated composite. It doesn't need for a preoperative impression. To make a provisional restoration from this material, a small portion of the material is cut from the stick and adapted to the prepared tooth directly. Then it is sculpted using hand instrument, and the provisional restoration is then activated for 10 seconds. Remove it from the mouth and give it a final 20-second light exposure. After finishing and polishing, the restoration is cemented with temporary cement. Temporary restoration for a tooth prepared to receive a post-crown. It's often difficult to fabricate a temporary crown for a tooth that has been prepared to receive a post-crown because there is so little structure supragingivally that cannot give support to the temporary crown. In such cases, we need intracanal retentive mean to give retention to the temporary crown. We use a piece of stainless steel wire as an intracanal retentive mean, and this wire should be adapted to the prepared canal and should extend coronally at least 4 mm. The cementation of the temporary crown may be done with zinc oxide enginol because it promotes healing and it's also easy to remove. Thank you for your attention.